Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another lecture. So we were studying that how we are going to compete in the market, how we are going to increase our market share, and how we are going to grow in our business. Alright. And in today's lecture we are going to cover one more model which will teach us how we can grow in our business, how we can grow our business, how we can increase our market share or customers or the product portfolio, how can increase our profits. All right, so for that we have a model that is called Ansoff growth matrix. So Ansoff growth matrix talks about two things. It talks about two things, that number one is your product and number one is your market. And he says that based on your product and the market we will make a combinations. Like for example, if the product is your existing product, new market, existing product, existing market, new product, existing market, new product, new market. So based on that we have four combination or four ways, four strategies to grow. And so growth matrix teaches us four strategies, four techniques, four methods in which we can grow. And how we can grow, it is based on, you will see, you will analyze your product and you will analyze your market. Now let's one by one understand each of them. For example, when I talk about the market penetration means when you are selling the same product, your existing product, into your existing market. You are selling, let's say you are a mobile manufacturer, cell phone manufacturer, and you are selling the cell phone to your existing market, and now you are trying to increase your market share, you are trying to attract more customer. So we call this strategy market penetration. That means you are trying to penetrate deep into the market, into the same market with the same product. You are not changing the product, you are not changing the market, you are staying in the same product, same market, and try to penetrate into the market and try to grab more customers, more market share. This is called the market penetration strategy. So now let's study market strategy in detail, because now we have understood that what is market penetration strategy. It is that when you sell the same product to the same market and try to sell it to the more people and try to sell it more in the same market. All right, so market penetration strategy, it means that when entity seeks to sell more of its current product to its existing market. Okay, we know this thing. This strategy is sensible choice in a market that is growing fast. You know, this is the most innocent. This is the most innocent strategy. I would say this is the most easy strategy which a business can do. Stay in your limit, stay with your product, stay with your market, and try to do better in the same market. All right, and that is why it's a sensible choice in a growing market, because if the market is growing you can penetrate even better and you can attract more customer. Because if the market is not growing, then it will become difficult for you to attract more customers. All right, since market is not growing, everyone has their own customers, everyone has attracted the customer already. Now you will have to do a lot of effort to attract the customers from your competitors. But if the market is growing, new customers are coming, you can easily attract them. All right, so it is suitable in the growing market. Again, I'm not saying that other than growing market you cannot apply, but more suitable it is in the growing market. It is more difficult to implement when market has reached maturity or is growing slowly. Same thing, see, it is written here that market penetration will become difficult if your market is at maturity phase or the growth is very slow, because there are no new customers coming. All the customers, they are already fixed with the suppliers, so it would be very difficult to unfreeze and attract them. All right, A market penetration strategy requires least amount of new investment. Obviously it will require a new investment in a least amount, because you are not doing any innovation, research and development. You are not going to the new market or the global market or the overseas market. All right, what you just need to do is you need to do a good marketing. So it will only take the marketing expense. All right, no further extra huge cost related to the research and development, branding. Okay, branding, you will be doing research and development, innovation, latest technological advancement, going to the overseas market, purchasing the new company. These kind of expenses are not going to incur in this market. All right, no further expense other than the good marketing strategy. Kotler suggested that the market penetration call for aggressive marketing in 3 ways. So market penetration, how you can do? You can do it in the 3 ways. Number one, persuade existing customer to use more of a product or services. For example, if the customer was purchasing 5 units from you per year, it was purchasing 5 units from you per year. Try to convince customer to purchase more than 5, like 6, 7, 8 or maybe 10. Try to sell more to the existing customer. In that way you can increase your market share. Number one method. Number two method is that persuade potential customers to start buying. Tactic might including advertisements, special promotional offers. That means those customers who are not purchasing from you, and they are not even purchasing from the customer, they are not purchasing at all. Try to attract them, try to make them purchase your product, so you can increase your market share. So attract the outsiders, the customers which are not in the industry right now. Okay, persuade individual to switch from buying the product from the competitors. Try to attract the customers, snatch the customers of your competitors. This is the third type or third method in the market penetration strategy. And you know what, it's a bit dangerous. It's dangerous. Why, sir? Let me show you. Because there are some risks with the strategy. These 3 strategy or market penetration strategy has 3 risks. Number one, if the company fails to increase the sale, its business will have no strategic direction. Because see, what your strategic choice was, that how will you grow? You said that I will grow by doing better in the existing market with my existing product, with my current market into the current product. But what if you fail in doing this? You will not get success in penetrating the market. Then you have no other strategy. So that's one risk. All right. Competitors may be much more innovative and competitive. You tried to snatch the customer of the competitor, and what if the competitor retaliates, and in response the customer comes up with the better product, more innovation, more competitiveness, like price discounts, buy one get one free offers, promotional activities, price wars started, and your competitor is a very big company, and competitor can wipe you out. So there is a chance that if you would poke your competitor, if the competitor is big company, it's a large company, it's a strong company, it can causes harm for you. So you have to be very careful while you are going to snatch the customers from your competitors. All right. The strategies selected by major competitors might be a threat. Again, like the promotional strategy, innovation, research and development, discounts, and these kind of strategies. If they would see, now everyone is doing their businesses peacefully, but if you would try to snatch the share of other people, they will come into play, they will respond. So if they would respond, this could be harmful for you. So it doesn't mean that you are not going to do the penetration strategy, but you have to consider this thing as well, that if your competitor is strong, if your competitor is powerful, it's a big company, then competitor can come up with the good response, and you have to be prepared for those responses as well. All right, now let's move forward to the next strategy. The next strategy is the market development. What do we mean by market development? Market development means when you are selling your existing product, the same mobile phone, the same cell phone, but in the different market. For example, you were selling here in Pakistan, now you have started selling it in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, UAE, UK, Canada, Africa, Zimbabwe. So now you are going to the new market. You are going to the new market. Alright. This is called the market development, because now you are developing your markets. You are going to the different market. Alright. Now let's read it. So the market development says that it involves opening up new markets for the existing product. Same thing. It also requires less investment, obviously, because you are not going towards the new product. So the research and development, innovation, product development, or I would say the expenses of acquiring new machinery, new plant, new technology, these all costs doesn't incur in this strategy. So that is why the cost is low. Obviously it requires a cost, but not as much as high as the other strategies. Obviously it requires you the cost of maybe acquiring a new subsidiary, maybe acquiring the know-how or knowledge of the new market. All right, you have to have the knowledge of the new market, so it will require the cost. Again, the costs are going to be incurred, but they are not going to be significantly high. Okay, again, why sir you are telling us the investment or the cost thing? Because as a business leader, whenever you are going to select any strategy, you have to consider the cost as well. You have to consider how much investment you need to make, because you have to arrange the investment, and the more investment, the more risk. All right. Kotler suggested that there are some ways of pursuing this strategy. How you can pursue the market development? By entering new geographical market like region, national or international expansion. The way I said, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Canada, Africa, Zimbabwe, UAE, UK, these kind of countries. Or maybe offering slightly differentiated version of its existing products. Let me give you an example. For example, there is a McDonald's. There is McDonald's. McDonald's has branches in KSA, in Pakistan, everywhere in the world, right? But what do you think if the McDonald's will go into the country where vegetarian lives in majority people are vegetarian? I would say like India. There are few states where people are majority vegetarian. Don't you think that McDonald's should modify its product a little bit slightly to add the vegetable variants into their products, into their meals, and remove the beef and meat items? Yes sir, they should do this. So that is why while doing the market development, you have to take care of the new market as well in which you are entering. For example, if I give you the example of Gillette. So Gillette, when it came to Asia, it failed miserably. So why it failed? Because the blades in the Gillette razor, that blade was made of iron, right? And in Asia, there we use the salty water. There is a mixing of salty water with the sweet water, and we use it. All right. So when the people were using those blades with the water, they were getting rusted. They were getting the brown things on it. They were getting rusted, and they were becoming useless very easily. So the Gillette failed. But then Gillette got to know this thing, and Gillette modified its razor blade in such a way that now these blades can work in the salty water as well, and they will not get rusted. They included the steel into it, and that is how the Gillette becomes successful in Asia as well. So whenever you are entering the new market, you have to take care of this thing as well, that you need to understand the new market and slightly change your product. Making product available through different distribution channels. Again, what you can do is, for example, if I talk about me, I am here in Pakistan, but I am providing the lectures or my portal to the students in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, UAE, KSA, the UK, Zimbabwe, Africa, Canada, these all countries. How? Through the e-commerce platform IQ School of Finance LMS. So you have to find out the distribution channels as well, because how you are going to deliver your product to the other countries, how you are going to export the product to the other countries or the other market. And it doesn't always mean that you should go outside the country. Sometimes within the country as well you go to the new market, because sometimes one city has other market and the other city or the other state has the other market. So if you are going to the different market, the market which is different from your current market, we call it the market development strategy. Are you getting this thing? If yes, now let's move forward towards the next strategy in the ENSOF growth matrix. So now let's move forward, and we have the other type, that is the product development. It is similar to the market development. By name now you would be getting the idea that now we are going to provide the new product but to the existing market. We are going to sell the same product in the same market, the new product. For example, we were selling the cell phone. Let's say now we are going to sell the iPad, tablet, smartwatches. Alright, so these are the new product but in the same market, and that is what we call the product development strategy. Let's read it. So the product development strategy, there are several reasons for choosing this strategy. What are the good reasons for choosing this strategy? They are: strong brand name for its product can extend the goodwill to the new product. For example, you had a good brand name in your cell phone market. People know you from the good name, that your cell phones are very good. They have a good memory, the good processor, good style, good slim body, good prices, good memory, good processor, everything. Alright. So now when you will enter into the iPad, tablet, smartwatch market, obviously people would think that since their cell phones were good, their other products are going to be good as well. So your good image and the goodwill is now reflecting on the new product as well. So that's a benefit. Entity might have a strong R&D department or strong product and design team. Entity has to react to new technological development by producing new range of products. So we are saying that if you have a good R&D, research and development, and the technological department, only then you would be able to come up with the new product. Because if you do not have the research and development department or the technology department, can you make the iPad, tablets or the smartwatches which you were not making earlier in the past? How you can make it? You can make it by when your research and development department will make the new product. Your technological department will make the new product, and only then you can do the product development. And the other thing is that we all know that we have studied it in the environmental analysis, that environment changes. For example, you saw that people are now moving away from the analog watches. They are moving away from the analog or the traditional old style watches. Now people are moving towards the smart watches, which is smart to wear, which read out your heartbeat and look after your health as well, give you the option to, you can pick up the call from the smartwatch, you can dial a call from the smartwatch, and you can just say something and it will type the message and send the message to the person. So you will see that the people are moving toward the smartwatches. Now you saw this change in the environment, and based on that you made a new product. So we are saying that you do the product development. Why? Because you see the changes in the environment, and in order to respond to the changes in the environment and become aligned with the environment, you need to do the product development as well. Competitors might also have a develop new product, and sometimes it happens that let's say your competitor was selling that cell phone together with the iPad, right? So now your competitor is getting the edge over you. So you got to know this thing, and you have to now make an iPad as well, because if you're not making the iPad, the competitor is going to purchase the cell phone from the your competitors. Because if I say that the cell phone is integrated with the iPad, so now If you are not providing the iPad, then the competitors will purchase both of the things from the customer will purchase both of the things from the competitors. So that is why, in order to stay along with your competitors, you have to do the product development as well. Getting my point? Changing taste and needs of the customer, the way we talk about the smartwatches, transition from the analog watches to the smartwatches, right? Disadvantages of the product development strategy is that developing new products can be expensive. Research and development, innovation, technology, these all required high investment. All right, making a new product that will give you the cash flows, profits for the long ages, it will require the investment, right? Heavy investment, billions of dollars. All right, a large proportion of new products are unsuccessful, and again, when you try to make the new products, you try 10 times, but only few, 2 or 3 become successful. So the other unsuccessful, they go wasted. And if they are going wasted, these high cost, these are wasted, and you have to be very careful. All right, now let's move towards the last strategy, and that's a whole new world into itself. And I want you to be very attentive, very focused while understanding this strategy, because if you would stay focused, you will understand it in a best way and you can pass the paper. So let's discuss this. And we have this diversification. Diversification means you're going to the new product into the new market. Both things are new and you are diversifying. You are just going away from your business and try to do something extraordinary, some new experiments with the new product into the new market, right? And that is called the diversification. Now let's look at them. So when I talk about the diversification, means going for the new product in the new market. There are few advantages and there are few disadvantages of the diversification. What they are? Diversification gives you the high profits, because when you are diversifying, you are expanding your portfolio. You are expanding your portfolio the way we discussed in the BCG matrix. Remember? Or maybe we will cover BCG matrix at the later stages. So there is this very common practice that sometimes companies deals in multiple products. So when they are dealing in the multiple products, it will give you this benefit that if one product is not performing well, the other profit will give you the benefits or the profits. And if the product B is not performing well, product C will give you the benefits or the profit. And if the product C is not performing well, maybe product A will rise up and it will give you the profit. So diversification will always save you. All right, it will spread your risk. How it will spread your risk? That now, for example, if you are only selling product A, so if the product A fails or the market fails, there is nothing else for you to do. Your business will fail. But if you are working in B, product C, product D as well, so if it fails, maybe it will become successful, it will become average, it will become average, and somehow your risk is spread. That if even if the product A doesn't work, if the product A is not giving you profit, still you are in a peaceful way, in a good position. All right, your risk is spread. Risk is spread to all these things, not on the single, that if it fails, what you will do. Economies of scale. When you are dealing in the multiple product, it gives you the opportunity to work at the large scale. And if you are working on the large scale, you reduces the overheads and you reduces the some cost, and the economies of scales arises. And when the economies of scale arises, your cost decreases. Synergies with the sister companies. Synergies, how the synergies comes? Let me give you an example of my audit client. There was a company who was selling the edible oil. So this was company A, all right, and there was company B. I'm not taking the name because of the confidentiality. And this company B, it was the processor. It was the oil processor company. So before this company, the company A used to get the oil processed from the other companies. All right, and obviously when you are getting the oil processed from the other companies, they are going to charge you high prices. They are going to charge you the high prices and your cost is going to increase, your profits are going to decrease. But since this company comes into the existence, now the edible oil company will ask them to process the oil. Obviously, since they are related parties, this company is subsidiary basically of company A. So the company A is the parent company and below it's a company B. So it's a subsidiary company of company A and obviously it will charge you low prices. So that is how you will get the synergies with the sister companies. Sister companies mean the companies within the group, right? And the disadvantages are the lack of experience. When you go into the product A, B, C and D, when you are doing a lot of things, you will never get the experience of all things in a good way. Alright, and maybe sometime you have a good experience in product A, you have a good experience in product B, product C, but D is somewhere you do not have the good experience. It's a new business for you. Alright, so there is a risk, right? High risk, again, why high risk? Because you are dealing it in too many things, and obviously a person can be master, a person can be specialized in few areas. If a person is teaching all subjects, if a person is doing all the things, you would know that the person is not expert of anything. He is just average person who is doing everything. So that is why it increases the risk of the company. Alright, when you do a lot of businesses. Management problems, time, resources, lack of concentration. Obviously, there is going to be someone who is at the top management. Top management looking at product A, product B, product C, product D. Don't you think that the top management will be short of time? They will not have too much time to look at all the products, all the companies, all the businesses. They will run short of time, right? So these would be the management problem which they would be facing. And there is one thing that you will remind me to, sir, explain at the end of this lecture. I will explain you this thing at the end of this lecture and you will have to remind me, right? This is some sort of caveat. If you would mention it in the exam or if you would know it, it will give you a better understanding. What they are, I will tell in the end of this lecture. But now further I have something to tell you, that diversification means going for the new product in the new market. But again, we have the two types of diversification. Number one is the related diversification and number two is the unrelated diversification. Related diversification is somewhat, not totally, it's not the same product, it's not the same market, but it is somehow related to your existing product and existing market. Alright, let me give you the example, right? For the related diversification, and unrelated, obviously it's supposed that it is totally different from your existing market and existing product, right? So the related diversification, new product and the new market area is related in some way to the entity's existing product and market. Product is new but still within the broad confines of industry. For example, Pepsi starts selling Lay's. If Pepsi starts selling Lay's, again, Pepsi is a drink, Lay's is a chips, alright, but somehow they are related to the snacking industry. Don't you think that they are somehow related to each other? Customers who are purchasing Pepsi, who are purchasing Lay's, don't you think that the behavior is going to be a bit of similar? It is going to be. So although you have diversified, first you are selling Pepsi, now you are selling Lay's as well. So you have diversified, but they are somehow related to each other. Manufacturers of vacuum cleaners might diversify into washing machines. Those who are providing the vacuum cleaners, who are producing the vacuum cleaners which we use on the mats to clean the mats or dust, they start selling the washing machine. Again, it's a cleaning industry. Although products are different to each other, market is different, but they are somehow related to each other, right? Vacuum cleaner and the washing machine. An airline company might acquire an international chain of hotels. Alright, what I'm saying is that the airline industries, obviously whoever is traveling from one country to another country, that person needs the place to stay, that person needs the hotel. So somehow they are related to each other. What if the airline company starts the hoteling business, restaurant business as well? Because when people are traveling from one country to another country, they need the food, they need the hotel, they need the room to stay. So they are related to each other and they start doing this. Although they are diversifying, new product, new market, but somehow related to each other. Alright. And also in related diversification, we have further two types. See, again, that is why I was saying that please stay focused. We have diversification. Below it, we have related diversification. We have unrelated diversification. In related diversification, we have two types of related diversification: horizontal and the vertical. Alright. Now let's see it. When I talk about the related diversification, and under related diversification, we have the horizontal integration or the horizontal related diversification, right? What it is that, for example, you were selling the Pepsi. All right. Now you started selling Lay's. You started selling burgers. You started selling Zinger burgers with it, right? All these are snacking. All these are snacking things. All right. These are refreshment things, but they are somehow related to each other. So if you move a bit right or left towards the similar products, we call it horizontal diversification. All right. And similarly, if I talk about vertical integration, it is a branch or it is a type of the related diversification, but it is now you are moving vertical. Where vertical? Vertical in your supply chain. Since you are making Pepsi, obviously you would be purchasing the bottles from someone. There would be some supplier who is giving you the bottles, who is giving you the packing material, who is giving you the caps. What if you start producing the bottles, caps and packing material by yourself? You started doing the job of your supplier. That is what we call moving on the vertical line of your supply chain. You started doing the job of your supplier. So when you move backward in your supply chain, it's a vertical integration. And similarly, if you move ahead, for example, the Pepsi doesn't come by itself to the retail stores, to the supermarkets, to the distributor and to the people consumer to sell the bottles. They sell the Pepsi through the distributors. So what if the Pepsi starts its own distribution network? Then Pepsi says that, okay, now I will not purchase that distribution services from my distributor. I will distribute my product by myself. I will distribute to the retailers, wholesalers, consumers, supermarkets, by myself. All right. So now you have started doing the job of your customer. Now you have become your own customer. The point of discussion is that if you become your own supplier, here your supplier was giving you the bottle, now you started producing the bottles by yourself, so you became your own supplier. It's a vertical integration. And if you become your own customer, because the distributors were your customer, you were selling the Pepsi cartons to your distributor. Now you started that we will sell it by ourselves, so you became your own customer. Similarly, let me give you one more example. That if you are a car assembler, so you would be purchasing the car body from someone, you would be purchasing the tires from someone, the seat foam, leathers, the gearbox, engine, and the the system of the car, right? You are purchasing everything from someone and then assembling it and making a complete car. What if you start making these all things by yourself in-house? You start manufacturing them. So it means that now you have become your own supplier. You will make the seats and you will use it by yourself. That is called the vertical integration. And similarly, the car manufacturers, these are like Audi, BMW, Bugatti, Kia, Toyota. These are not selling the cars to you directly. Do they come to you directly? No, there are the dealers between you and the company. These dealers are selling the cars to the consumer, and the companies, car manufacturer, they are selling the cars to the dealer. So dealers are their customer. Dealers are their customers. So what if the company starts its own dealership? That means the company have started doing its own customer job, and that is what we call the vertical diversification. So that is the structure, that if you start doing the similar product, if you start making the similar product, although it's a diversification but somehow related, so it's a horizontal diversification. But you start moving on your supply chain, start moving up and down on your supply chain, it will be called vertical diversification. Alright, if these all things are clear, now let's move forward towards the unrelated diversification, and that's the last thing of this lecture. So the unrelated diversification means diversifying in such a way that the new product and new market are totally different from you. For example, if there is a business which makes the bakery item, cookies, sandwich, cakes, these kind of things. Alright, now the business enters into the furniture industry. Now they are making the furniture business. So these are from nowhere connected to each other. I'm not saying don't do this, I'm just telling you that these are altogether different or unrelated to each other. Similarly, if I talk about the, let's say, Kawasaki is the brand which makes the motorcycle. How about if the motorcycle brand start making the musical instrument like violin, guitar, piano, flute, drum, these kind of things. So it's not wrong, it's not bad, but they are totally unrelated to each other, right? So that is what we call the unrelated diversification. And what do you say? Which one is more risky or which one is riskier? Related diversification or unrelated diversification? Yes, you are thinking right. Sir, unrelated diversification is riskier. Why? Because things are unrelated. Obviously, when first we are going to the new product and new market, so things are new for us. Alright. And even when they are new, we are going to the unrelated market, or things are totally unrelated to us. It will make things riskier for us. It will make things challenging for us and a bit difficult for us. And in unrelated diversification, again, it's a risky thing, but it is a bit less risky as compared to the unrelated diversification, because the product and the market is somehow related to you, so you have a bit of comfort. All right. And the note, there is something reasoning behind this strategy might be as follow. Some businesses might perform badly, but other will perform well. It reduces the risk. So that, you know, if your bakery business is not going good, your the other business in which you entered is like furniture business, the furniture business will perform good, so it will spread your risk and somehow you will keep on getting the profits. Diversification will save cost and generate the synergies, economies of scale. The same thing, can exploit different businesses opportunities whenever whenever and whatever they arise. So when you are ready to do the diversification, so it will give you the benefit that whenever the opportunity will come into the market, for example, you are a bakery business, but the opportunity comes into the furniture business, so you would be able to capitalize them as well. You know, there is one example which always my teacher used to give, that for example, you are an ice cream seller. We all know that ice creams are more sold in summer, but in winter they are sold, but not that much. So in winter, what did you do? You started the soup business. So if in summer ice cream business is giving you the profits and the soup is going down, ice cream will go up. And in winter, if the ice cream will go down, the soup business will go up, and it will give you the profits throughout. Now the important note which I ask you to remind me, the important note is that you know, diversification is risky, we all know, and that is why few shareholders or the few writers, what they say that if the business or if the investors wants to diversify their investment and diversify their portfolio, they can diversify by purchasing the shares of the different companies. They can diversify by purchasing the shares of the different company, and that is how they can diversify their portfolio, diversify their risk. Okay. And there is no need to merge two different business into the same company, because if you would merge the businesses into the same company, it will give you the disadvantages, because the management of the one company might have the experience of one business, good experience, but in the other business it will not be a good experience, right? They would not have a good experience. They would not have the time to manage both of them, and obviously they are risky, right? So that is why if there are two different companies, two different management, they will have the experience, the relevant experience for each business. They will have the relevant or sufficient time to focus on them, and that is how the company could work in a better way. That merging the two business, three business, four business into a single company, it is not preferred. I am not saying that don't do this. I'm just giving you this information, this viewpoint, that some people also think like this, that if the shareholder wants to diversify their investment and their portfolio, they can diversify by purchasing the shares of the different companies. You don't need to merge these businesses or start these businesses from a single company under the single management, under the single expertise of people. All right. But again, it's a very judgmental paper. The business is a very judgmental and very person to person varying thing. Maybe there would be some person who is saying no, diversify in the single company. There would be someone who would be saying that no, diversify into the different companies. So these are the viewpoints, and these all are accepted. All right. As far as based on your circumstances, based on the scenario, based on the situation, which approach is better, you need to identify, you need to evaluate, right, based on the merits and the demerits of the options. So I hope that I was able to explain the ENSOF growth matrix in very detail with the good example to you. See you all in the next lecture. Till then, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.